Welcome to the Oddcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Ricky.
And we're two odd dudes who decided to start a podcast.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about friendship, especially social media, buzzword. We're going to talking about whether or not social media helps or hinders our friendship making skills.
It's always one of the H's.
Yeah. I grew up in church, and you have to do that alliteration.
All
stuff.
the alliteration.
Does it help? Does social media help or hinder or
have an okay time?
Yeah. Yep, that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about social media friendship, how we have tried to keep our friendship, strong, other friendships that we have, but also areas where we've seen we're weak, or where we think kind of people our age especially, or our kind of culture is weak based off of kind of what we see in the culture currently.
So let's get to the Oddcast.
So we are talking about friendship today, and which is great because we're friends.
We are friends.
And, we've gotten a lot closer in the last year, even in the midst of all the craziness in our own lives. We keep getting closer, which is fun. It's a ton of fun. But one of the things
Has this year been crazy for you?
It's been a little crazy,
I don't think
jobs,
anybody would relate
changing life. I still have the same, wife, dog, and house. That's nice.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't plan on changing that anytime soon.
Dogs are always constant for like 10 to 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife, hopefully, till I die.
Hopefully.
Though she says I have to die first.
She
has to die first.
That's a question we should talk about sometime, whether or not you would rather die before your wife.
Yeah. Erica made me promise that she would die first.
Yeah, because then you can provide for her until the end.
Well, she says the only way I can die first, she has dementia. This is getting really sad really fast.
Well, no, I think this is the point, right? So we have a real conversation, and now you make a fart joke.
Now I'm on the spot now. It's got to be.
That's okay.
It's just got to go. So anyways, we're going to talk about friendship.
Yeah.
Our friendship, how it can literally go from super, super deep to fart jokes.
Yep.
But also kind of how we've seen or personally been impacted by social media, and how that is, whether we think help or hindered our current culture, our ability to make friends, our ability to be in relationship, friendship wise or other. So
yeah. So right off the bat, why don't you kind of tell me, how do you feel you make friends in general? Like, do you think you're good at it? Are you, because you and I are both extroverts. We're both people. We're both people. So how do you go about making friends, or how did you kind of growing up? What was your general friendship life what did it look like?
Growing up, I didn't have very many friends at all, honestly. Oh. I played basketball, and so basketball is everything. I was a pretty good basketball player. It was super serious part of my life, and so I was in the gym, 2-3 times a week during the week to practice, and then I was in the gym Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. It was all day, every day, basically. Everything was basketball.
Right.
So my friends were people I played basketball with, but when you're playing kind of that competitive style, people are moving, changing teams, doing all that. I had a couple core people that I was really good friends with the whole time. But as I moved into high school, club ball kind of fell off, and now it was high school. I had to get better at kind of transitioning to make friends, because I wasn't just the basketball person anymore.
Right.
And everybody I knew up until then knew me as someone that played basketball. Mm-hmm. Even in 7th and 8th grade, where everybody's got their thing, right? And I was the guy out that was there early. Yeah. He's going to be there early to go play basketball. And I was like, I'm showing up early before school to practice. That was me. I was, middle. It could be December, and I had shorts on because I didn't want to be an ounce slower or a second slower on the basketball court.
Would you bring your own basketball to school?
100%. I rode my bike a lot, and I would still have my backpack that weighed like 40,000 pounds. And I would also have, ride my bike with one hand and have a basketball in the other. That was me. So that was how I had friends growing up, was basketball. And so as I got into high school, I had to kind of develop new skills of how to talk with people, and started making friends, started going to the youth group at the time that I was at. And that really helped me kind of grow in my friendship making ability. Now I'm very outgoing. I still get nervous around new people, but am much more confident and able to go talk to those kind of people.
Right.
Just strangers or whatever.
Yeah. You can mask it at least.
Yeah. I can pretend like I'm not as scared.
Right.
But how about you?
So for me, I've never been you ask my parents, I've never been afraid to walk up to like anybody and just ask them to be my friend. Literally how I made my first friend in the world was first day of preschool. I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, do you want to be my friend?" And we were like best friends all throughout elementary school. It was the best.
He said yes, I'm assuming.
He said yes. Yeah. No, there were others who said no, who are like my best friends now, which is a great story. So I'm gonna tell the story.
Okay.
Because I can't not.
That was a cliffhanger there.
Yeah,
it was a great story. I'm not gonna talk.
There was
about
a split second where I was like, should I tell this story? And now I feel like I have to. It's one of my favorite stories. So I have two really good friends. Their names are Micah and Austin. And
shout out Micah and Austin.
Yeah, if they're listening, you guys are.
If they're your friends,
I
hope
right.
they're listening.
They better listen. Yeah. Although they did reject. Oh, whoa! That's a.
Don't give
spoiler.
Don't give us any spoilers.
I'll tell you after this story. Yeah. So here's how the story goes. That first friend that I ever made, the one that I asked, "Will you be my friend?" He was gone that day. He was sick, and I had no friends other than him.
That's such a sad start to a story.
It is a sad start. And so I see these three guys. I say guys, but they were like 4 years old, so they're boys. Over there, sitting doing their own thing. They're playing dinosaurs. They're playing, you got the T-Rex, the Stegosaurus, the one with the spikes on the back. I forget what it's called.
For clarification, were they being the dinosaurs or they had the dinosaurs?
They were playing with dinosaurs on the ground. They were all holding them, doing their thing. Mm-hmm. And so I walk over. I'm like, I can do dinosaurs. Like, I've seen the movies. and so I walk over. I sit down right next to him, and literally, right as I sit down, they just like look at me, pick up their dinosaurs, stand up, and just walk to another part of the room. And I'm over here like, well, maybe they just didn't like this part of the room anymore.
Whereas, you're in a little denial.
I was a little bit in denial because who wouldn't like me, obviously. Preschool me was not obnoxious at all. So then I'm like, well, I'll just go again because why not? And so I walk over to them again, sit down and play some dinosaurs with them, and then they get up and leave again. And so, and these are, mind you, these are two of my best friends now. Yeah, like, so, hit the mic. So my only friend was gone. I went to find new friends, and they rejected me. But then my dad taught a basketball team in second grade. Basketball unites all.
Brings people together.
Sports, man.
Brings nations together.
Does. Yeah. Probably. I don't know. I don't watch basketball anymore. Yeah. But at that time, basketball did bring me two of my closest friends. So the moral of the story is always play basketball.
Yeah. That's such a sweet story. So I have a question about your story.
Yeah.
They were playing with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Was there a fourth dinosaur available?
I don't remember. I mean,
maybe that's why they didn't want to play with you.
They thought I was going to steal their dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
You should talk to them about this. We should all get in a room and just hash this out.
Someday we'll have them on the podcast.
Yeah. All of them and their dinosaurs.
And the other kid who was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
I'll find him.
When you first told me the story, and that's why I asked the clarifying question, because you said they were playing dinosaurs, I just imagined they were being the dinosaurs.
Oh.
Right? And then in my mind, that was even funnier because then they like migrated away from you. they were like,
that's the theme of Jurassic Park plays in the background.
There was like, well, the raptor guy was like, let's go over here, guys. And then he just walked away from you. Maybe they were dinosaurs and you were the human.
Maybe that's what it was. I was actually part of them playing. That's what it was. Yeah. Oh, wow.
You were part of the story. You just didn't even know. And now you're really part of the story.
And then I was offended for like 3 years, and I could have been friends with them right now.
Maybe they were
maybe
that's including
the moral
you
of the
by
story.
excluding you.
Just never assume something bad. Always assume the best. Even if it's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have those friends. I have my best friend, Zach, is, we've been best friends since high school. We met because of basketball. We're actually competing for a spot kind of thing, and ended up having a very similar schedule, doing sports medicine, athletic training type stuff together. And so because of that, we started hanging out and getting to talk to each other more, and really, we're connected. I've noticed in my life, a lot of my friends are not necessarily people that come from the same walk of life or have the same beliefs on things, but are people that do things that I also do.
Yeah.
And it just makes it an easier connection point.
Right.
And something I've noticed, and I'm curious your thoughts on this is, do you think that because of social media, right? Everybody, not everybody, but most people are on social media. There's kind of this natural, like, oh, that's the connection point is whatever platform you're on, right?
Right.
But it's not really a depth because that's like a commonality between everybody that's on that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Totally. Yeah.
But so it's not really a friendship because your biggest commonality is like, oh, I've been to that place where they posted that picture on Instagram.
Right.
And you might know them beforehand and that's why you follow them or whatever.
Right.
But I think that one of the reasons I don't feel such a deep connection on social media, and I think that that's kind of hindered deeper friendships, is because you kind of get this sense of like, oh yeah, I'm connected to them, but you're not, right?
Right. Because you see everything that happens in their life. You see their kids, you see their, like, you know, you see their wife, or if they're whatever, you see their husband, or you get to know like a whole lot about them or what they're doing with their life or when they went to the pumpkin patch or whatever, but you actually never really got to be there to talk to them about it. Right. So you know them without really having the conversation, and you don't ever get to have that sort of interaction, or, you know, like even like you said, you don't ever do anything with them, like go play basketball, to where you can then have the conversation.
Right.
It's just, oh, I know this information now about you, but we never had to interact.
Right. And I think there's kind of this natural, like, in our culture, there's kind of this natural excuse that we all give each other, and it's we're busy. Yeah. And we're like, oh yeah, we're busy. We've got a lot going on. We're working this and that. And while that may be true, and I don't want to like minimize that in people's lives.
Right.
You know, my wife and I are busy, and we've come to an agreement together where we don't want to ever be too busy that we don't have friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't have kids right now, and I understand that adds another layer to people's lives. And hopefully one day we get to experience that blessing, right? But the thing for me is, my dad kind of taught me, like, there's always the ability to do something you want to do. It's about whether there's always enough time. It's about, are you prioritizing that thing, right? And so, like, for instance, Zach, you know, he got married 4 years ago. He just had his anniversary, him and his wife. I think it was 4 years. Congrats to them. They, when they got married, they moved up to Washington. And so for a while, it was hard for us to kind of figure out how we're communicating. And, you know, we were texting here and there, that kind of thing. But especially this last year, we've tried to continue to FaceTime, like at least 2 to 3 times a month, just to stay in contact with each other. How's your life going? What's going on? Like, we see each other on social media. We are doing YouTube videos together, but those are things that are like, they're connected, but they're in passing. They're not to each other. And I think that's what social media is really missing. Even though you're commenting, it's very rare that people are commenting in a way that's to each other. It's more like in passing to each other, if that makes sense. Of like, I see your comment or I see your post, I comment, and then you comment 8 hours later, whatever, right? So it's kind of like this weird misconversation. And I see that even in like text messaging, where there's some people like me, I'm always on my phone.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because that was part of like my job. I'm just always texting, always emails, all that kind of stuff. I'm a quick response guy. You're slower at responding, right?
And I'm very slow at responding.
Right? So
except to Tony.
Yeah. Shout out Tony. But it's like this mist, right? Where like even just a phone call, even though it's not as face-to-face connection, is more personal and more, in my opinion, more like friendship oriented, because you're having like talking to each other instead of past each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you don't have like this sort of, because even with texting, especially because I have an Android, so nobody can see my read receipts. Oh, you know, like, yeah, and it's great.
Is that why you have an Android?
That's exactly why. I just feel like Ron Swanson would be proud of me, except for the fact that I have a phone. Yeah. But like one thing with that is I can read a text and just be like, no, I don't want to respond now. Mm-hmm. But if somebody comes up to me and says, hey, do you want to hang out tonight? I can't just be like,
you just turn around and walk away.
Right. Yeah. Like you can't do that. You know, you have to either give them a reason, and you have to in your head mentally make a decision right there. Mm-hmm. Like, do I have anything to do? Mm-hmm. I don't have anything to do. Do I want to hang out with them? And then if you don't want to hang out with them, you just have to say no. Yeah. You can't just be, you can't make up a excuse.
Yeah. You can't do oh, sorry, I didn't see your text message.
Right.
Like, oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Even though we're standing here in front of each other face to face.
And maybe that's like a good thing. Maybe a little bit of social pressure is a good thing for us. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Do you think do you so we're not very far apart age wise,
Right.
Wise. Well, that's hard to say.
Sean
age
Connery.
wise, but do you think even in the couple years we had, it was this huge shifts, social media wise. Like I remember getting, I got a MySpace. That was cool.
I never had a MySpace.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Even the 4 years difference between us, there's a big social media gap. Do you think what you experienced growing up, do you think that those things were harmful to your own friendship making ability because of, what not even necessarily for you, but those around you? Do you think that social media harmed your friends or the people around you's ability to make friends?
I think for sure. Let's try to go about this in a fluid way of me thinking about it. I think when I got to high school is when I really started to see the social media problems kick in. That was once everybody started getting a phone, because I got a phone in 7th grade, so I had it for a little bit of middle school. Yeah. But not everybody did. Once everybody got to high school, they pretty much had phones. And so once they had phones, it wasn't even like Instagram or Facebook. It was, it was probably a little bit of Facebook. It was definitely Facebook. But it was also like iFunny or YouTube or just different apps that, you could sit in the corner of a classroom hiding from the teacher and just look on your phone, right? Like, which is a social problem. That's okay. I don't want to be here in the room anymore. I want to be just kind of by myself. And so I started to see that happen more, whether it was in the hallways or at lunch, or people just have this easy outlet of, okay, I can instantly gratify whatever sort of thing I want to have my attention right now. If I want to look at memes, I can look at memes. If I want to look at YouTube videos, I can look at YouTube videos. If I want to text girls, I can text girls. Or if I, if whatever it is, they instantly have whatever they need, and they don't have that social pressure to be able to say, okay, no, I'm actually going to put time into the relationships I'm building around me so that they get stronger and become better. Because, like with my friends from preschool, immediately, right off the bat, we were not good friends. Yeah. They left me.
Yeah. Or they migrated.
Yeah. But over time, those friendships have become some of the ones that are most dear to me. But that takes time. Yeah. And now I'm at the point with like Micah and I almost wear the same clothes every time we see each other. Yeah. We just look the same and say the same things.
You both have the outdoor hipster look?
Yeah, except for he's just a little bit more dad.
Oh, okay.
He wears more shorts than I do.
Does he have New Balance shoes?
He has no New Balance shoes. Ooh. Oh, he should get some though. He should. Yeah. He does have a pair of flip-flops that have worn through to the point where you can see through them, which is a very dad thing. He wears them with jeans or shorts. Yeah,
that's a dad thing. Yeah. And also where the jeans are frayed on the bottom because they've just been dragging on the ground.
He doesn't do that.
That's a dad thing.
Next step for him is New Balance and frayed jeans. But you don't have that pressure anymore to be okay, I'm actually going to put work into these relationships, because you can just revert back to whatever is easiest to you. Right. And that's, I think, a huge problem with social media or just having anything we want at our fingertips in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things I've noticed too is it's almost this we are so willing to put aside the people that are right in front of us for the people that are on the screen that are harder to connect to.
Right.
Because they're harder to connect distance wise, but they're easier to connect because there's not as much of a risk behind a screen. Right. And I think that more people in our culture would actually benefit from kind of putting those things down. Yeah. And just taking the risk of going and being a little bit odd, being a little bit vulnerable and talking to someone, having some friends. And I want to be clear, I think social media definitely plays a role. Yeah. And is helpful in a lot of ways. I like seeing my friends post. I like seeing, if my friend goes camping or whatever, I think it's cool seeing the photos that they posted. I'm like, wow, look at the memories or the experiences they got to have. It is fun feeling like I'm a little bit a part of their life in that way, right? But if that's the only way I'm a part of their life, and I'm not willing to, call them up and say, hey man, where'd you go camping? I'd love to go with you sometime. Right. That's the next step that I think we're currently missing between social media and the actual connecting as friends. Yeah. I've heard one of my professors says, we're the most connected and the most disconnected society of all time. We're so connected via social media, like, and now, I mean, with my brother who's younger than me, 10 years younger, 10 years younger, my sister, and seeing what Twitch is able to do via video games and all this stuff, like the kids can be friends with someone across the world now, like actually friends with them in the sense of like communicate and talk, and like they're playing video games, but they can actually have interaction with each other.
Right.
And they get to know each other, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm across the world. And like that's so interconnected, but then like they're struggling to make friends in their own high school.
Right.
And I think the missing link often is this aspect of a lot of people walk in the room and think nobody else is like me. No one else gets me.
Right.
No one else connects to me or whatever it is. And I think most of us are walking into the room thinking that, regardless of how extroverted or introverted you are. Even as an extrovert, I still walk in the room sometimes and go, oh man, like this is a different vibe, right?
Right.
Like to use like the vibe language. Like, I don't know if I connect with these people. They're different than me. And so there's still that fear, but you have to kind of push past that. You have to be willing to look a little weird, be a little odd, right? We're going to keep going to be a little odd, and step out a little bit. And the hope is that eventually you make some good connections, good friendships. Like my best friend in the world, Zach. Alex is my other best friend, and Paul, captain of the Odd Squad. Zach, he has this way about him that people connect with because he is willing to embarrass himself.
Yeah.
But he does it in this way that it attracts people to him, because they're like, that vulnerability took so much courage. And for me, like as his friend growing up, where like he was this odd guy, but ends up winning homecoming and prom king, because it's like everybody loved him. Yeah. And he wasn't the kid. He wasn't going to the parties. He wasn't doing all the stuff that the popular kids did, but he was popular because I wholeheartedly think it was because he had the courage to just be himself. And I think we would have so much more friends, deep, intimate friendships, if we were just like, you know what, this is who I am. And I'm okay with who I am. Right. And I'm not saying like I'm never going to grow. I'm not saying like I'm going to be a jerk to you all the time. Right. Like I hope our friendship is good enough that you're like, hey man, you're being kind of a jerk. But I hope it's also like, no, I accept you for who you are. And like, I accept your quirks. Like you like LaCroix, and you know what? I accept that about you. I think it's weird.
I'd say you but totally accept it sometimes.
No, I accept it about you.
Oh, okay.
I won't drink it.
Yeah.
You made me drink it the one time. A lot of them. I burped a lot. But you know what? Like, that's the difference. But I have weird quirks where like I'll drink soda every day of the week. Like IV it into my veins. Let's go. And you're like, that's weird to me. Yeah. Yeah. But that's like our friendship is we're okay with those things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. Because there's something about...
I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Sorry.
Just don't do it into the mic or towards me. Yeah. But there is something about somebody who's just so genuine. Like they don't seem like they're worried about what other people think. Mm-hmm. Because that's everybody. Like I'm a crazy extrovert, but I still, like you said, you still walk into a room and you're like, well, what are people going to think of me? You know, like, am I going to, like, for me, it's kind of like, am I going to be able to be the center of attention here? Or are people going to think I'm funny or whatever it is?
Or am I like trying to be the center of attention? All of a sudden, like, it's a group that's like, oh, the annoying guy that's the center. Right. And you're like, oh, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. You always overthink everything. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge problem because people like people who are very established in who they are. Mm-hmm. But when we go into a situation and we're kind of, like, oh, do I want to act this way? Do I want to act this way? We lose a little bit of a sense of our own self that we would normally portray, you know? And it's kind of like, in scripture, how it says, like, if you're lukewarm, he'll spit you out of his mouth. But it's the same kind of thing of like, we don't like things that are bland. Right. We like people who have, and that was out of context, so don't build any theology off that. But we don't like things that are bland. We like things that have flavor and are a little bit spicy or like really extra sweet or a little bit sour because we want something to taste, you know? And in our like social interactions, we have to be willing to share who we really are. And then if we do that, we tend to find people who are more similar to us because they see that you're being a little bit weird or a little bit odd, and it makes them feel comfortable to be the same way.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where social media has hindered us, where usually, and there's the people that are different than this, right? This is like, we're kind of generalizing a lot here, but the typical social media is like, you're not going to post the first selfie, right? That's kind of our culture. You're going to post the third one there you look the best in, right?
Right.
And they're the people that are like, oh, I'm going to post the first one and also the third one. Like,
Right.
oh, this is where I looked bad. But we kind of like make a joke about it. And that's where I think it misses. It's this filtered view of life where the reality is, like, we tell our friends, you know, we have people over every Sunday night, and that's usually when our house is the cleanest, because it's like 2 hours before we're going, oh man, our house is a mess. But it used to be, oh, I'm going to vacuum, I'm going to clean it. Now it's like, I'm going to make sure all the laundry's put away so no one has to stare at my underwear. But like, I'm not going to vacuum this week. Cause
at what point do we all get close enough to you to where you just leave your underwear out?
I'll probably never that close.
Okay.
Like,
that's probably good.
Yeah. I'm always going to put my underwear away.
Yeah.
But it was just this, hey, this is who we are. This is our house. And what I've realized is people just, they don't care.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I've had conversations with people who are like, oh, we've got, you know, our friends that have kids, and they're like, oh, our house is a mess. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'll come help. Right. I don't care. Like, I think we are missing, we're trying to put on so much of a filtered front. And I think this is where social media has really hindered us. We're trying to put on the image in our real life that looks like our social media life, that we are hesitant to let people in. Because we're like, oh, I don't want to let you into my house. Like, this is my sanctuary. This is my...
I don't want you to see my dirty underwear.
Yeah, and it looks gross, right? And I'm like, that is where we need to change. That's where I think the biggest shift could take place, where we actually have real friendships. It's just inviting people in our homes, even if they're not the cleanest thing in the entire world.
Right, because
like,
everybody's house is dirty.
Right.
Well, not everybody. Some people don't have dirty houses.
Right, that's true.
And they're incredible.
Yeah. But the inviting in, even if, you know, all the dishes aren't done.
Right.
Hey, I still want you over. Like, don't let that be the reason you're not having friendships, is because you have house chores to do.
Right.
You know, hopefully, you know, put the dirty underwear away, throw it in a closet.
Yeah.
And then invite people over.
Yeah.
But don't let, you know, your life become so busy and so filtered, like this perfect, pristine thing, that you don't actually have deep friendships. Because I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. And one of the things I've talked a lot with different young adults about, especially, is you have to be willing to want to be the one that makes that move. You got to be the one willing to say, hey, do you want to hang out? Everyone wants the other person to invite them. Right. Sometimes a lot of times you just got to be like, you know what? I want to hang out with you. Let's do this. And you want to go get coffee. You want to, you know, go get pizza or whatever. Just ask the question. Right. I might say no. Like, hey, I'm super busy. All right. Go ask someone else, but don't keep sitting back in, you know, your own thing. You know, step out.
Go and make a move.
Yeah. But, well, we got to wrap this up. Any last thoughts you have on social media, friendship, and any last advice? 30 seconds of advice for the listeners. Best thing they can do this week. Help them make a friend. From the fun, extroverted Alex.
If you're old enough to, like, leave the house, and you have a car, or maybe you're an adult, because your parents still want you home at certain times and whatnot. If you're old enough and you're sitting there texting somebody 24/7 or DMing them or Snapchatting them 24/7, stop doing that all the time and just actually hang out with them. That's my advice.
Go do something.
Go actually do something. Yeah.
Go on a hike.
Yeah. And don't just sit together watching TikTok.
Yeah. Or a movie.
You send enough of those to each other anyway.
I love movies. Here's what I say. I love movies. If you're like starving for friendship, don't go see a movie together, right? Because you don't talk to each other. If you do, go get dinner afterwards and talk about the movie. Like, that's great. That's awesome. I like doing that.
That's good.
But if I go to a movie and someone's like, hey, let's go see this movie, and they don't want to go hang out after, I'm like, why did we go see this movie together?
Right.
Like, we didn't ever talk about it.
Yeah.
I should have just gone by myself.
There was no
I
social
wouldn't want
connection.
to go by myself, though, because that would make me feel weird. But
yeah, that makes me feel weird too.
Anyways, that's the end of, it's going to be the end of episode 2 of the Oddcast. You know, we hope you guys, if you tell us your thoughts. What do you think about social media? How's it helped you, hindered you? And what do you kind of do to make friends in your own life? And next week, we're going to be talking about more introspective. We're going to be talking about whether or not, or next episode, whether or not Alex and I are addicted to our screens.
Yeah, so tune in.
And thanks for listening to the Oddcast. Until next time, stay odd.